Coming up on AEA Amplified, let's learn the ins and outs of the brand new AEIT endorsement, now available for AET certified avionics technicians.
From the Aircraft Electronics Association, this is AEA Amplified, a podcast for aviation's technology experts, with your host, Jeff Hill.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company, providing full flight deck upgrade solutions of customizable EFIS smart displays, UHF and VHF airborne radios, and autopilots, plus much more for retrofit and OEM factory fit aircraft. To learn more about the upgrade solutions, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Hi again, everyone. I'm your host, Jeff Hill, for this August 29th, 2023 edition of Amplified. And today we're sharing some critically important information that I know all avionics technicians are going to want to know, as ASTM recently unveiled a brand new endorsement to support AET certification. And here to tell us all about it is someone who was heavily involved in developing this new standard. And I'm joined by the AEA's Director of Workforce Development, Mr. Nick Brown. Nick, welcome to the show. And you are a member, of course, of ASTM's Committee F46 on Aerospace Personnel. And that's a group of industry professionals who came together to develop this new standard. But before we get to the endorsement, let's first talk about the overarching certification that I know many AEA members and avionics technicians are so familiar with, and that would be the AET, which is otherwise known, of course, as the Aircraft Electronics Technician Certification. Can you begin by reminding us a little bit about that AET certificate and why it's so important foundationally for avionics technicians to attain?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me. Happy to kind of remind people of what the AET is. It's a foundational certification in avionics. So really any student entering the avionics industry, this is a standard that they can use, and a lot of schools do use to kind of create curriculum for. It covers things like basic electricity, basic wiring, avionics fundamentals, troubleshooting, how to use a multimeter, circuit calculations, how to use test equipment. So it's foundationally what someone needs to know to enter the industry, and schools should use it to teach their students and get their students that certification. And also shops can use it as a way when they're training someone. This is a great standard to use in developing new talent or new hire technicians.
And Nick, I know there are actually several endorsements that are already available for the AET certification, and they've been around for a while. And of course, having at least one endorsement to the AET is now accepted by the FAA as equivalent to formal training to show eligibility for the issuance of a repairman certificate. So that the AEIT that I know we want to get to is the latest endorsement, but I guess can you also just give us a quick overview of some of the others that are available first?
Yeah, and that's again kind of why this certification such a great tool. I mean, the FAA went out and said this is could be the equivalent of a repairman certificate. So that's great kind of recognition of the standard and its relevancy in the industry. So like I said, the AET is the foundational certification, kind of what everyone should know coming into the avionics industry. There's still a gap from that to what an avionics technician is going to be doing, and one of the AEA members, you're going to be installing avionics equipment or soldering or using test equipment or pedostatic checks, things like that. So ASTM identified what those gaps are from the AET to these different segments of avionics or different categories, and that's ultimately what became the endorsements. So one of the main endorsement out of the AET is RCS, radio communication. So it talks about how radios work, transmission and receive, and then standards kind of break off from that. So we've got the radio communications, dependent navigation, autonomous navigation, and then we are coming out with more kind of down the pipe, with further development, we've got some other endorsements that are going to come out.
All right, and so let's talk about the news of the day, and that is the AEIT, which of course stands for the Aircraft Electronics Installation Technician. And it's perhaps the most important endorsement for avionics technicians. So what exactly is the AEIT? What does it take to pass the test to earn that endorsement?
Yeah, good question. So the AEIT was really developed by AEA member shops that were, like I said earlier, the AET, so they've got a foundational knowledge, but there's a pretty big gap for what our industry needs the most, is the ability for someone to install avionics onto an aircraft. So this standard, it took a while to develop, and a lot of collaboration to figure out what those needs are and how to break them down. So it's a great standard to have. It's full, now that it's finished, it's a great standard to have for any member that's kind of developing a training program, or any school that's looking to figure out how do we train avionics technicians. So it covers things like where to route wires, crimping, more of the wire fabrication, where the AET is more of a high level basics foundations. The AEIT kind of covers more detailed information on avionics installations.
And once again, we are visiting with Nick Brown, the AEA's Director of Workforce Development here on AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company. So Nick, what is the best way for avionics technicians out there to prepare for the AET and or the AEIT exams?
So the best way to prepare is for the AET. It's foundational knowledge. It's pick what I'd recommend is, work off the study guide, work off the standard. All the information you need to know is in there. We just are kicking off an AET class, so if you're looking to get your AET, the AEA will have a class for that, a hybrid class.
And Nick, so after the avionics technician does its studying and has some preparation, where exactly can they take the certification and endorsement tests?
Yeah, so any AEA regional event, the AEA will cover the cost for anyone that wants to take the test. So that's a great opportunity to come out to one of our events, take the AET, any endorsement, the AEIT, you can take that for free, kind of give it a shot. And then if you can't make it to one of our events or the conventions, you can always take it online, which is kind of a great way to get these certifications. If you can't take it for free with us, you can take it online, and it's pretty easy to do, to kind of schedule an online proctor, and it's pretty convenient. So.
And Nick, just going back over the overarching AET certification, the AEA just announced a brand new prep course for the AET, and it's got a hybrid method of training the technicians to prepare for the exam. Tell us a little bit about that new training course, hybrid format, and how that's going to work.
Yeah, so the hybrid format is so the online portion of that is, if you want to take the AET, you can sign up for the class, and the first part of that class is going to be all online, and it's going to be asynchronous, which means you self-study essentially. So it's not a virtual class, but if you want to learn about the AET, you can log on, and there's modules you navigate through. So like I said, basic circuit calculations, there's some modules on that, training on that, some videos and kind of quizzes, and everything you need to do to prepare for the AET. So it takes roughly about, I would set aside, 1 to 2 weeks to prepare yourself with the online portion. And then we're going to offer a 1-day class here at headquarters, where it's a prep. So everything that you did online, I can answer any questions, or do a a quick review on those topics. And then the AET will be administered here. So just easy way to kind of get it all done and knocked out if you're looking at earning your AET.
And the date of the course here at AEA is going to be January the 17th of 2024. And so if you have any questions or want more information about that, you can check out our website and enroll for that class at aea.net/training. And if you do have any more specific questions, of course, reach out to Nick. You can email him directly at nickb@aea.net. And Nick, before we let you go, I want to do something just a little bit different with our podcast, add a little bit of flair and excitement with what we'll call our lightning round and our final four. So we're looking for the first thing that comes to your mind and why you feel that way for each of our final four questions. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So number one, if money were no obstacle, what type of aircraft would you like to own and why?
You know, I'm on the fence here. I think I think I'd go for like an old warbird. I think those are pretty cool. Like going to Oshkosh, seeing the warbirds and the restoration, just that history piece of it. So I think that's the route I would go. Or I'd pick something boring like, I don't know, 170, something really basic just to get me from point A to point B quicker.
And there you go. All right, and you joined the AEA, of course, here as of June 1st as the Director of Workforce Development. That's your full-time job. So what was your first job?
My first job, I was a paper boy. So ever since I was 13 years old, I've been working. So yeah, I was a paper boy delivering paper on a bicycle. that was it.
There you go. Work your way up. So I know you've had a lot of other jobs, including some military service. Thank you for your service. So number three is, how did you meet your wife?
Yeah, so met my wife in Okinawa, Japan. Was stationed out there. Like you said, I was in the Air Force. So stationed in Japan. Met my wife at a pretty famous downtown location in Okinawa. So it was for my birthday. I was at a birthday party for me, and that's how we met. So shout out to my wife. Thanks to Tommy. Appreciate it.
There you go. All right. So a little bit of work experience there overseas in Japan. So I guess question four then that segues nicely is to you're a baseball guy, I know as well. So Shohei Ohtani or Babe Ruth?
I mean, no doubt it's Shohei Ohtani. I just, you can't, I don't think it's a debate because Babe Ruth nowadays, I don't think he's hitting nearly as many home runs as he did back in the day. I think baseball's changed. He's still a great player. You can still, we gotta gauge these players in the era they were competing in, but Shohei Ohtani is just another. He's way better than Babe Ruth.
I totally agree with you there. It's hard to argue with what Ohtani's doing. He's the MVP on both the mound and in the batter's box. So Nick Brown, thanks so much for joining us here on AA Amplified. And again, Nick mentioned it, but we'll remind our listeners out there that you can take that AET certification and all of those endorsements exams, including the AEIT that we've talked about. You can do that for free simply by attending one of the AEA regionals in the United States later this year. Those events are going to take place in Daytona Beach, Florida, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and out west in Reno, Nevada. So you can register for those regionals. There's hotel information. You can see the training schedule for both days of those events, all at aea.net/regionals. And I also want to let you know that Avionics News will have more coverage on this AEIT endorsement, and that's going to be coming out in the September issue, which will be available starting on September 1st. So that's just here in a couple of days. So I encourage you to read the article's title is The ABCs of AEIT, and it's written by Dale Smith, who really takes a good in-depth look at what this AEIT endorsement is and you can read that at avionicsnews.net. And as always, in-person and virtual live avionics training courses are available here at the AEA's headquarters in the classroom. There are several classes available right now, but seating is limited. They do sell out, so please enroll today for those classes at aea.net/training. And that is going to wrap it up for today. We hope you can join us again soon for another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company. To learn more about Genesis and its full range of upgrade solutions, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Thanks again to Nick Brown for being our guest today. And until next time here on AEA Amplified, for our producer engineer Aaron Ward, this is your host, Jeff Hill, wishing you blue skies ahead. So long, everybody.